Hello everyone, my name is Brie Hillier and I am here tonight with Crystal Denton, and she is running for Lincoln County Clerk and Recorder, and she was kind enough to come down here and answer some questions and give us some information and teach us a little bit about what a clerk and recorder does, because through this process I've learned a lot of things that I did not know about each one of these positions. So we're going to learn some stuff. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. So my first question would just be, what brought you to Lincoln County, and then tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in Idaho in Bonners Ferry, but grew up as a child in Troy, between Troy and Libby, kind of Kalispell a little bit, and then came back to Troy as a teenager. Stayed in the area, went down to Bonners Ferry for a little while and worked down there, and then moved back to Troy and commuted back and forth for like 13 years.
Oh, wow, okay.
So yeah, I've always done something with public service and just kind of moved that way.
Well, right on. I mean, if that's the comfortable lane, why not keep pushing forward?
Right.
Right. Well, what made you decide to run for clerk and recorder?
Well, I've never been in a voted in capacity. I've worked with a lot of political offices, sheriff's office for 20 years down in Idaho. And I just felt like it was time to step up and use some of the skills that I've used through the years and try to keep serving my community.
Right on. That's awesome. I mean, I'm sure like once you get to a certain point, you just want to get to that next try something new and go to the
Right.
next level.
Just keep learning.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's cool. Well, I would really like to know, just for clarification, what exactly does a clerk and recorder do?
So they are responsible for all of the public records, property, deeds, mortgages, easements, whether it's property bordering owners or Northern Lights or Flathead Electric, or any of those easements that go through to make the legalities for somebody to go onto their property legal.
Okay.
Then do the birth and death records through the state.
Okay.
So you're responsible to keep them up and then to have them available to people at any time. Also keep copies of DD 214s that have been brought in. A lot of times they had to be brought in after a certain year. They did get them early years, but if somebody moved to the area and wasn't released from the military here with the DD 214, they would bring them in and they can be recorded.
Okay.
So they're always in a safe spot.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the clerk and recorder's office is kind of like the vault
Yes.
of important documents.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. So just from like a layperson's point of view, if I needed, I know you had mentioned like an easement or something like that. So if a neighbor had an easement on a part of my property, and they kept coming through and I was trying to figure out how that works and where the easement is, or they started trying to build something, your office at the clerk and recorder's office would be where I would go to like find those
Yes.
lines.
Yeah, well, it would show the legal description on the easement document, and then based off of the legal description, you would go on to the maps to find exactly where it's at within your property.
Okay. So like a legal description is like, it would say like, this guy has authority to do this kind of a thing, or you just mean like
No,
where
like
it's at?
township, section,
Okay.
range, quarter,
Gotcha.
where it's at within all of that.
Okay. Okay.
If it takes an angle, then it'll describe all of that within the legal description too.
Really?
Yeah.
That is very interesting. I did not know that. That is good to know though.
Yeah.
Because I do have a neighbor that likes to do stuff sometimes, so.
Right?
You never
That's where
know.
you would go to see it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Better watch out. Now I know people.
Right.
So my next question would be, what experience do you have that makes you feel like you are prepared and capable of doing this job?
Well, like I said, prior to, I did 32 years total in law enforcement dispatch.
Wow.
I left Boundary County after 20 years. I was a 911 administrator, the sheriff's administrator. I did civil deputy, marine deputy, and then I moved to Troy. And when I left the sheriff's office, I did some remote work in HR. I did that for almost 2 years. And then I went to the clerk and recorder's office and I worked there for almost 2 years. I only left because I got another job opportunity that paid better.
Okay. Oh.
So I took that opportunity, and with that opportunity, I learned even more about the property on the opposite side of going to the courthouse. So, like preparing the stuff that goes to the clerk and recorder's office.
Okay.
So that was really cool. And then I ended up moving again into another HR position, which is what I'm at now. Through all of that, I've learned a lot on keeping documents accurate, protecting people's privacy, on top of making sure that anything that is public record is public record.
Right.
So transparency, honesty, through all of those offices, it was very important, and my career was that.
Right. Yeah, and I would imagine that keeping things accurate is probably extremely important on that job, making sure everything stays together and
Yep.
all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's not just as simple as going in and recording a deed, because you can bring it into the counter, but then you have to, the clerks go back and they have to prove ownership before it'll be recorded. So they'll go all the way through all of the ownership on that piece of property to verify that whatever is being sold, or, you know, a lien on it or an easement, that is the legal owner of it before it's even recorded.
Wow, that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is more than just taking a paper and filing it away.
Correct.
There's
a
a lot.
lot of research that
Yeah.
goes into it before it can be legally tied to or given to that person, or access to, or whatever, you know, it is that they're trying to do to that piece of property.
Wow. Okay. Well, that is good to know too. If you were to be elected, what would your top 2 priorities be once you got in office?
I think that making it easier for the public to find their documents, and they are able to find it now by going through the county's website. It's kind of an antiquated system, so to get something that's a little more streamlined, and then trying to do public outreach and showing people how to do it, that of course, like anything, comes with a cost. So trying to figure out how to do that the best way with the least amount of cost would be my goal. And then just staying open to, you know, talking to people and showing them things. And when I worked in there, it was always cool when somebody came in and wanted to look at history on their property, or, you know, we had to look stuff up, and going back in those big books is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I have actually, I've gotten to see that area one time, and I mean, I wasn't allowed to like go in there because I didn't need to be in there, but I was like, I mean, it was like a, you know, like on Beauty and the Beast,
Right.
Like it,
The library.
yeah. Oh, you know,
Yep,
you've been in there,
yep.
so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like
Yeah.
that was not what I expected.
Right.
That was not, and it was just like all this, I mean, all kinds of information. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't even fathom how many documents are really in,
Oh yeah.
you know, all of them combined.
Right.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty impressive. But so even if you do the, you know, trying to update the system and stuff like that, would that take away that style, or is that still like this will always be here, but I just want to make this side easier?
Yeah, no, it'll always be there as a hard copy. A lot of the older documents are microfiche, just so that they're easier to get to and make copies of, and a little more legible. But yeah, the hard copies will always be there.
So we'll always have a super cool secret library?
Correct. Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, so I guess actually that kind of answered part of my next question, which was improving customer service and wait times and stuff like that with this, you know, trying to find a more efficient way. that I think that would always be helpful for not only the public, but probably for you guys
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure it could probably get hairy sometimes trying to find stuff.
Right. And then when you're trying to help somebody and you really have to do a lot of digging, it might take them a little longer than they expected
Right.
to come in and be able to find exactly what they're looking for. But then when they leave, they're satisfied because they did find it, even though it
Right.
might have taken a little while.
Right. Right. No, I bet it always does feel good when you get to
Yeah.
help somebody figure out whatever it is that they're trying to figure out.
Exactly.
What services does the clerk and recorder's office handle that most residents would use most frequently? Like, what is the most common service that the clerk and recorder's office does?
Probably filing like quitclaim deeds.
Okay.
Or liens if a business needs to put a lien on a piece of property. And then I would go into people asking for birth certificates.
Okay.
When a baby's born at the hospital, they don't realize that the birth certificate they get is just the one with the little footprints on it.
Yeah.
To get the certified one, they have to come to the courthouse to fill out the application to do that.
Oh, okay.
And then as long as it's been filed, gone through the filing process from the hospital to the state, then we can print it out and give it to them right over the counter.
Okay. So birth certificates that's where somebody would go if
Yep.
like, oh, I lost mine from,
Yep.
1901 or whatever.
Exactly.
You guys would have
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Wow, okay.
As long as they were born in Montana.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, and the same with death certificates.
Oh, okay.
They're there too, and then they can be printed out. A lot of times, unfortunately, it takes a little bit of time right after somebody's deceased for it to get into the system.
Right.
But then they can come in and get a copy of that.
Right. And I would imagine those are like a death certificate is something that people usually always are going to need, like
Yeah.
a family for
Yeah.
all kinds of different purposes.
Yeah, doing your vehicles or
Right.
anything like that when out of the state, and
Right.
those are all certified copies, so they can be used for any of those legal documents that they have to do.
Okay. Wow, that is super interesting. What do you feel is the most confusion that you see from the public about the clerk and recorder's office? Like, do people come in and ask you for totally crazy things that you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, or is it pretty common people know why they're there?
A lot of people come in looking for a marriage license, and that's with the clerk of court.
Oh, okay.
Or like divorce papers or anything like that. The clerk of court does all of that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the only type of license that is issued out of the clerk and recorder is the death and birth.
Okay. Okay.
And then they also they're responsible for the addressing for the county residents, for new subdivisions.
Like making addresses?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody came and bought a big slab of empty space, you guys would pick the address?
Yeah, they get a choice. There's
Okay.
an application process, and they get to choose, and as long as those names aren't a duplicate for what's already in the county, then those will be accepted.
Okay.
And that's part of the process that the subdivider has to do with planning, is to show that they've done the application process for the addressing along with what the addresses are going to be before
Okay.
the subdivision's approved.
Interesting. Okay. I did not know that either, actually. So theoretically, like if somebody did do that and was going to do like a big subdivision, is that the process of like, I want to come in and name my street Hillier Street, and kind of, is that how that?
Yes, you'd come in and get an application, and on the application it says your 3 preferred road names.
Okay.
And then we would look over it, make sure it wasn't a duplicate, and then we were doing the responses back through email so they didn't have to wait.
Right.
And then there's an application process, like a fee that comes with it, and you have to buy the sign, and the county
Okay.
provides the sign, but they pay for it.
Right. Right.
And then that way it meets all the standards it needs to for highway signs as well.
Wow, that is there's a lot going on in that office.
Yeah, there is.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I did not know that. So we were talking a few minutes ago about having things like transparent and, open and stuff like that. Is there in the clerk and recorder's office, can just anybody come in and be like, I want to see the property for Joe Blow down the street's whole history ever on their property? Or is there kind of like a guideline to that for privacy purposes?
No, it is public record. So somebody can come in if they look it up on the cadastral and, say they want to look at this piece of property. We can show them the books because the books are in there by township range and section.
Okay.
And then they can go through and thumb through to see who property owners have been on that specific piece of land.
Right.
There was one instant where somebody was looking for law enforcement officers' information, and we did not let that one go through
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
potentially a safety issue.
Absolutely.
But other than that,
I would imagine there's not like a ton of like super top secret.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, sure, you can see their address, but like you just said, you can see that on the cadastral
Exactly.
anyways. So, I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, you're just going to get to see maybe a little bit farther back.
exactly who owned it before them, and
Right.
maybe the last 10 years of owners. But,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like you're going to get all their.
Yeah. No, you're not going to get their social security number,
Right.
date of birth, and
Right.
firstborn child's name.
Yeah, right. Dang it.
I know.
Can't go be stealing people's identities. Foiling all my plans.
Yeah.
Well, I know before we started, we had been kind of talking a little bit about like modernizing and digitizing, and you'd also just mentioned wanting to make it easier
Yeah.
on, for people to navigate. What is your plan to do that? Do you have thoughts on that?
I would like to get into another system that a lot of counties in Montana are using that's a little easier to navigate for the records. Right now, the records that they do have access to, I'm not sure what the cost is, if there is a cost, but I know that the other ones, I think it's Taylor Technology or something like that, they do have a cost for you to go on and log on and
For like
and
as an individual
Yes.
person? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I would like to eliminate any kind of cost if possible, but still give a little easier for people to get to.
Right. Yeah.
I think it'll be a little bit of a balance to figure out which way is the best way to go.
Right.
Maybe just knowing that they can come in and anybody in there can help them will be enough to ease their mind, where it can be that simple. We can print it out for them and they won't have to worry about any additional cost.
Right. Well, and I imagine that there are a lot of people out there that probably, I mean, just navigating, sometimes even the simplest things like knowing the difference between YouTube and Facebook
Right.
and, stuff like some people just they cannot grasp that these are like
2 separate platforms.
totally separate
Yeah.
things, And I would imagine with, people that have a hard time with the internet and stuff like that, it probably just feels so much better for them to just be like, I need help.
Exactly.
Come in there and
Yep.
you guys can
Yep.
help them out.
Yep.
Yeah. But then there's also a lot of people too that can totally navigate anything on the internet.
Yep.
And there's probably, there's some websites that I've looked at and it's just like, I am not an iPad kid, but computers were around my whole
Right.
life and I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Right.
So I would imagine that making it even just the littlest bit simpler
Yeah.
would be helpful.
Yeah, agreed.
No, that's pretty cool. What are the systems that you would like to use to prevent errors and things, like when you guys are like in your work zone and you're doing things, like kind of what are the preventative borders to prevent errors on those?
A lot of times the documents come to the clerk and recorder's office from attorneys or from, title companies. It's a lot of proofreading, looking for spelling errors. And then at that point, if there's something in there that isn't reading right, to show like the legal description, or maybe there's a word just completely off, that document will get sent back to whoever submitted it. with whatever those errors were, to have them corrected, or to make sure, do you want to correct this? This is what we saw.
Right.
And if they say, no, that's right, then okay.
Right.
But
You did it.
Yep. Yep.
I'm just putting it in here.
If it has to do with a legal description, then it wouldn't be recorded. They would have to fix it or show how they got to their legal description versus what the documents are showing in the office.
Oh, okay.
So it would have to be verified before it would be recorded.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. And that does make sense, because I'm sure, one little mistake here now.
It travels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could travel for a long time.
The northeast section is actually supposed to be the northwest. And
Right.
then things can go sideways really quick.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you really have to be on top of it with the reading and and probably just knowing definitions of property words and stuff like that, and boundaries and that
and going back to the books, and just recording a document isn't as simple as hitting a button and recording. You're verifying that through the books, or through our land specialist, or through any means you can to make sure that that document is a legal document before you record it.
Right. Wow. No, that makes total sense. What would be your approach to managing like the office budget? And I know also we had talked about the digitizing and stuff like that. So what other things do you feel like, if you were to get elected, you could do to help manage those things and maybe offset your desire to do that with the digitizing?
I think it's all in. With being at the sheriff's office, I did the budget down there. I did the 911 budget. I've done several budgets, large budgets. It's all in, finding your needs versus your wants.
Right.
And then navigating in, even if you have to save up a little bit, set it aside for the next budget and try to get it to where it carries over so that you can still use it, but you can eventually build enough to get what you want.
Right.
Or what you need.
Right. A little bit of both.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, that totally makes absolute sense. Let's see. Well, really, we just zipped right through those questions. Is there anything that you would like to say to voters who maybe feel like they're still undecided, or just anything about yourself and what your desires for the office are, just so that people can know, like, this is what I'm about, this is what I want to do?
Well, I am about truth and honesty, transparency. There is unfortunately a lot of stuff that's being said on Facebook, social media, and I just hope that, just like everything else, do your research and see where that leads you.
Yeah. No, and absolutely. I really, really highly encourage everybody. Like, it is so important to know who you're voting for and what they stand for. And, everybody can say whatever they want online, but I can tell you that after all the candidates that I've spoke with coming and sitting here, I mean, I know when you're watching it, it probably just seems like, oh, it's just another YouTube video of people that I know from where I live. But it's a lot of pressure to come and sit here and talk and know that everybody's going to see it. And I really, really respect everybody that has come and done this. And I think each of them deserve the respect of the community of looking, knowing, understanding, and doing your due diligence as a voter when you make your vote.
Yes.
So, one last question. Where can people learn more about you, or how can they contact you if they have any questions or anything like that?
So I do have a Facebook page.
Okay.
And I can be contacted through there. I can also leave my cell phone number, text or call. I do work Monday through Friday, but when I'm not working, I can return phone calls or text messages. Okay. So yeah, I'm available. My email information is on the COPPP website, so that's available there. along with, financial reports, which everybody should be looking at. Look
Yes.
at that. That's integrity right there with, to make sure people are filing like they're supposed to. And
Right, absolutely.
so,
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you doing this again. I really, really do, because like I just said, I know
right.
it's a lot to come and do this, and I really appreciate you doing that and answering all my questions and giving the super great answers that you
Thank you.
have. So I just again really want to thank you, and I will put Crystal's information in with the video. So if you do have any questions, you can ask her. Are you going to be doing the candidate?
Yes.
You will be at the candidate forum?
Yes.
Okay. So she'll also be at the
Yep.
candidate forum on the 13th and 14th. So you can come down and ask questions there. Come down a little bit early and just get to know everybody. Ask questions and learn all you can. So I hope to see everybody there. And again, thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you very much.